Yes, indeed. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. All right, we're live. 4 minutes. Good afternoon, one and all. Yep. There's Donna. Wait a minute. I didn't know you were going to be here. There we go. Yep. Four minutes is right. Yes, this will serve as the noon report. It will. Good afternoon, everybody. There's Lynn Miller, folks. It's going to be a big week. There's Chris Taylor. I had a very busy. Barrett Towing is the best, Brenda. Glad to hear that. Say it loud and proud. There's Ann. Folks, I apologize. I had a very working on a separate project that is complete, but it took much longer than we thought over the course of the weekend. Much longer than we thought. But the good news is it's complete. I didn't know it was supposed to rain this much. That's right. That is exactly right. Barrett Towing, the Barrett boys, home of the big toe. Boy, this weather, it's absolutely pouring right now. Heavy rain. It's supposed to stop. It's going to rain possibly tonight. What about the rest of the week? You do road patrol. All right. That's it. No other rain in sight. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday look nice. All right. And then next week looks really nice. All right. We're live in just 2 minutes. Yes, we'll be out tonight. And obviously, if anything happens this afternoon, we shall be available. We shall be available. I was very surprised we were not out last night, but just got caught up trying to finish something. Folks, I am spread. Juan is spread so thin. I try to keep so many people happy. Agree to do something, and then it's just a big time commitment. But anyhow, all right, and we're live in just 2 minutes. Yes. Kate DiPietro is at the DNC. She's featured in a TikTok having dinner with Karl Rove. How about that? So very excited for her. All right, we're going to be live coming up. We got some good footage of the fair from yesterday. I like that. 1 minute out. 1 minute out. No question about it. Yep. And then we're going to follow the news from Governor McGreed is leaving for Chicago. So he's off for the week. In that case. Whoa. One minute to go. Rain in the background. At 12:06 on this Monday, yes, August 19th, folks, good afternoon. This is the real news at noon. Yes, it is. You're listening. This is true. The John DePietro Show, folks. It's AM 1380, 99.9 FM. I can confirm that. Remember, you can always listen online at our website, depetro.com. Coming up at depetro.com, we will have the Coventry story. You know, I was aware of that yesterday. It happened so quickly, and then they made an arrest so quickly. So it was just one of those things, but we'll have that. Great work by the Coventry police, by the way. Folks, this portion of the program as we kick off the Real News at Noon, of which we are live. You can watch our simulcast on Facebook, also on YouTube, also on X, and then AM 1380, 99.9 FM. And then you can always listen online at the website, dpetro.com. And it's brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Locally sourced vegetables, sweet corn, native tomatoes, they have it all. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. Folks, they are a full-scale nursery. They're having a great season, but especially right now, it's all about the vegetables. Stop in. Screen Lumen mulch are available, pickup and delivery. Full-scale nursery. They're open 7 days a week. Pop in, maybe on your way back from the beaches of South County. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. All right, now we will have updates coming on depetro.com, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge with Anthony, well, with or without Anthony Santos. And then you also have the market at Coesit. Pop in. Listen, if you live in the area, support the market at Coesit. They're terrific, the Coesit Inn. All right, now let's be real. The big national story, obviously, we'll talk about some local stories. That situation happened. It happened really quickly yesterday, and they caught the guy very quickly. Otherwise, we would have been in action. The Coventry situation I'm going to talk about. But there it is, top of the Drudge Report. Dems ride momentum into national convention. Chicago takes spotlight. Michelle Obama prime time address. I didn't know. 15,000 members of the media are on hand. I want you to think about that for a moment. 15,000 members of the media. That's bigger than filling the dunk are there. Protests threaten to overshadow. Security measures far from convention. I think they have them an area where they can protest and it's not next to it. Microsoft warns of deep fakes. I don't care what anybody says. I love the Drudge Report. Electoral map dramatically reshaped. Harris downplays gender. Shift in strategy from Hillary. Now that's different. I haven't seen that. And then Phil Donahue has passed away, the king of daytime, at age 88. You know, I actually want to touch on that. I know that he was then very liberal and biased. Now, I wasn't like a lot of people. I don't think growing up, it was not, that was not a big show in my household. I don't think my I don't think my mother cared for him, who would have been more in charge of if we're going to watch something like that. I mean, when you did watch it, I'll say this about Phil Donahue. You know, in some ways, is the caller there, and they were based in Chicago, and then, you know, he would definitely have the different guests on, controversial topics. I mean, there were people that really hated Phil Donahue. I remember taking calls from callers that hated Phil Donahue. But, you know, at its time, that was a breakthrough big show, and him in the audience and going up and the whole thing, and he had the look. I liked Phil. You know, at some point I'll have to go online and watch. I'm sure there's some old episodes like on YouTube, and I don't mean the greatest hits, but you know, he was based in Chicago, and then Oprah was based in Chicago. So, but I remember Phil Donahue more of late. He was big with the Nader campaign in 2000, and you know, it was controversial that Ralph Nader was challenging Al Gore, and I just remember this interview. I think he was on Hardball with Chris Matthews, Phil Donahue, and saying, well, like, why do we have to seek permission? So, you know, why he was all in on Ralph Nader and the whole thing with the car seats and seat belts, but Phil Donahue, he would appear, because I think he did some kind of a talk show, and it was on I think it was on CNBC when they were still trying to find their way, because I mean, I'm going back. Tim Russert had a good show on CNBC. CNBC used to have a nightly show with Geraldo on the OJ trial, which was fantastic. They were still trying to find their way. They weren't the way it is now, but Tim Russert had a great show on CNBC, and I still remember like some of the clips and episodes. Phil Donahue um, told a story that when Danny Thomas passed away, I can't remember. I haven't thought of this in a long time, but he was on Tim Russert's show, and so Phil Donahue was married to Marlo Thomas. Remember, she had the TV show, and so his father-in-law was Danny Thomas, who was in entertainment. So he tells the story that at his funeral, he introduces someone who was a longtime friend, whatever the Catholic Church is out in Beverly Hills. And Phil Donahue's telling the story that he says, and now up next, a very dear friend of Danny Thomas. And it's Milton Berle. And Milton Berle gets up and says, "Thank you, Geraldo," and says the entire church just erupts with laughter. What a quick one-liner. Like, I know you're one of those daytime guys. Thanks, Geraldo. So, but anyhow, I mean, I know Phil Donahue was unbelievably liberal, and again, I was more intrigued by the format, I should say, and is the caller there and the way he phrase things that go into the audience. And it was actually a decent in its time. Donahue, that was big, and especially if you were a controversial, like he put Al Sharpton on the map. Legendary TV talk show Phil Donahue, king of daytime. And then what's funny to me is they show him in the photo on the Drudge Report of he's in like a suit from, I think that's got to be the 70s or the 80s, but long time renowned king of daytime, Phil Donahue. Let me just read a little bit about his bio. First reported by the Today Show. A wife of 44 years, Marlo Thomas. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Wow, born in 1935. Grew up in Cleveland. Began media career, talk show radio. I didn't know that. He started the talk show in Dayton, Ohio. The show gained credibility acclaim for tackling controversial topics and taking viewers behind bars for a week-long series at the Ohio State Penitentiary in 1971. Think of that. I mean, that must have been big at the time. The Phil Donahue Show devoted an hour-long broadcast to single issues, including child abuse in the Catholic Church, feminism, race relations. It was the first to allow audience members to ask guests questions. In 1974, once he relocated the show to Chicago and changed its name to Donahue, it was just the Phil Donahue Show. The host found his niche while innovating the daytime format. When Phil came to Chicago, he found his most important element, the Chicago studio audience. From that point, the program really took off. One day, I just went out in the audience, and it clear there'd be no Donahue Show if I hadn't somehow accidentally brought in the audience. Oh, I forget this. The show moved to New York City in January of '85, broadcasting live from 30 Rock. Continued to break new ground. Politicians, activists, musicians, athletes, actors. He was the pioneering host, taped 5 episodes. I don't remember this, in the Soviet Union in '87. In March of 1990, he interviewed Nelson Mandela. The show hosted the leading televised debate between Bill Clinton and Jerry Brown. I don't remember that. Without an audience moderator or commercial breaks. Other notable guests over the years, blah, blah, blah. He went on to win 20 Emmys. If there'd been no Phil, there'd be no Oprah. First to acknowledge women more interested in mascara tips and cake recipes. New York City remained the talk show's home until its final taping after 29 years in September 1996. Following a 6-year hiatus, it namesake returned 2002 to host Donahue, an interview-driven program. However, MSNBC can't. Oh, I thought it was on CNBC. MSNBC canceled the show due to low viewership. Okay. After the show's cancellation, he wrote, co-directed, and produced a documentary body of work. Boom, boom, boom. Just think what else. Still had the mop. All right. So then I wanted to just mention that because I can just remember, like I would never put it on, but once in a while, when everyone, remember when you just had like the one television, sometimes like one of my sisters would have it on, but he gave way to certain controversial people and would have them on the program. Folks, this portion of our program brought to you by AJ Home Improvement, 401-323-9252. If you are thinking of improving your home, frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes, additions, commercial rehabs, painting, remodeling, they can do it all. It's AJ Drywall Plasters Home Improvement, 401-323-9252. 401-323-9252. AJ Home Improvement. They will improve your home or business. Maybe it's fresh coats of paint. Maybe it's acoustical ceilings, frame to finish basements. They do it all. In-law apartment, or now the granny flats, which are going to be allowed. Whatever they call it, ADA, additional dwelling, something. AJ Home Improvement, 401-323-9252. All right, but the news of the day. Now, folks, it is becoming, let me just talk about the DNC just for a moment. But this is a winnable election. This is a winnable election. And I know, and there are some people that they put out, I think, ridiculous things. They put out ridiculous things. And I've kind of talked about this a little bit. I mean, the upside of social media. What's the positive? The positive is you get to interact with people you normally would never interact with. The downside is you interact with people you would normally never interact with. I have people saying, like, what are you talking about? The election's already decided. When you're saying that, you're basically saying President Trump and all of his staff and everyone in the campaign and all the members of the Republican Party that they're all fools. So someone put that. I should almost find the quote. Don't you, how naive of you. Don't you know the election's already decided? Well, if that were the case, why did they have to replace Biden? If they could rig a national election, then why switch out Biden and Harris if you have that type of juice? Now, let me also say the governor of Virginia has changed voting in Virginia. That is, seems to be on the up and up. Georgia has made great inroads to how they do voting. Florida has also made great inroads to how they do voting. So I know everyone's entitled to their opinion, but what does that even mean? Oh, I'm surprised. Don't you know the election's already decided? No, I don't know that. And I don't know what would make someone think that they're more knowledgeable than President Trump, than J.D. Vance, anyone connected with this campaign, anyone that was at the Republican convention in Milwaukee, all the Republicans that are running, all the voters like that. I don't believe that. It's a winnable election. But I've talked about, what I'm curious about is if in fact President Trump can adapt to running against a different candidate. And I don't think there's a guarantee. You see it in sports. This is not a great example, but the battle for the AFC Championship, Patriots, they have to get past them, and then they have 2 weeks to get ready for their opponent in the Super Bowl. You see it in college basketball with March Madness. They're playing teams they've never played before. They study game film, and they learn about the opponent they're going to have in the first round. And then if they win, they're playing again in 48 hours. And then they have to adapt to that. So we're going to find out. CNN Road to 270 shows multiple pathways to victory for both Harris and Trump in a reshaped race. But my thing is, I think I still maintain it's an unknown. I'll say this. If President Trump doesn't focus on the issues and just continues to do personal attacks, then he's ignoring everyone that is telling him to frame the issues. So it's a winnable election if he will just run on, I've done this, and listen to people that are speaking out. I've done this. I have the experience. I'm going to improve the economy. We're going to bring security to the border. And it's going to be a time of peace and priority. If he can do that, then he should win the election. If he's going to blow it and just go into personal attacks and name calling, that seemingly is not winning any votes. Apparently, the Harris campaign are finding voters don't like the whole calling him and J.D. Vance weird. So they're going to stop that. Why? Because they want to win. All right, here we go. This latest map. And by the way, this Race for the White House update is brought to you by Propane Plus. Remember, in Rhode Island, for all your propane needs, call Propane Plus today at 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359. Propane Plus, heating and cooling online at propaneplus.com. Whether residential or commercial, you can depend on Propane Plus. Now, for those that say you don't believe any polls, what I'm going to talk about is not for you. I can tell you the campaigns pay attention to the polls. For those that say, I don't believe any of the polls, I will tell you that the Trump campaign believes in the polls because that decides where they're going to spend the most time. So in the new map, they've moved 4 states from leaning Republican to toss-up, battleground status. That's not a good sign. Michigan is Georgia, Nevada, and North Carolina. That's 53 electoral votes. It was leaning Republican. Now it's toss-up. That's not, the worst thing, but that's a change. Trump now has 24 states and 1 congressional district in Maine, either solidly in his corner or leaning in his direction, and that totals 219, 51 votes short of the 270. Now, Harris has 19 states, plus District of Columbia, either solidly in her favor or leaning in her direction, which brings her to 225. 45 votes short of the 270 required to win. Now, this is CNN. I believe John King. We currently rate 7 states and 1 Nebraska congressional district, totaling 94 electoral votes as true toss-up as we head into the DNC in the final weeks of summer. We should be very clear. This is what it's about. It's a current snapshot. Okay. So as some of the Sun Belt states, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, have become far more competitive with Harris in the race, it's still probably true that her most direct route to 270 would be to keep the 3 so-called blue wall states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Omaha in Nebraska. Trump's most direct path would be keep all the states he won in 2020, flip Georgia and Pennsylvania, 2 states he won in 2016, back to his column. In that calculation, it's critical for Trump as he tries to prevent North Carolina from slipping away, which may explain why he's making his 2nd trip there in as many weeks and has upped his investment. So North Carolina is very important. Georgia is very important. Pennsylvania is very important. So the solid states for President Trump, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Ohio, which at one point was a swing state, no longer, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, West Virginia, Wyoming. Leans Republican, Florida, and then the 2nd district in Maine. toss-ups: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. So again, the toss-up states, the states where you're going to see them all the time: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan. See, I don't think he should be insulting the governor of Georgia. He needs to win Georgia. Bring the guy, Brian Kemp. He's very popular. Bring him on board. Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and they had their convention in Wisconsin. Now, leans Democrat: Colorado, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Oregon, Virginia, and then solid Democrat: California, Connecticut, Delaware, DC, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts with 11, New Jersey with 14, New York with 28, Rhode Island with 4, Vermont with 3, Washington State 12. So what does that mean? I'm going to tell you what that's going to mean in just a moment. And folks, this Trump update, and that's where whether people realize it or not, he is going to be spending his time. And it's brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Remember, to get your driveway paved or your parking lot, contact J. Perry Paving today. 401-732-1730. 401-732-1730. Letter J. J. Perry Paving. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service. Call them for a free estimate if you think getting a driveway paved. Free estimate, any project. Letter J. J. Perry Paving. 401-732-1730. And remember, no one is better to our veterans than J. Perry Paving. Call them today. 401-732-1730. So, folks, good afternoon. At 12:20, you're listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now, I recognize people don't like hearing that Rhode Island is solid Democrat. Solidly that Harris is going to win Rhode Island along with Massachusetts and these other states. Now, I can't speak about Massachusetts, but I'll say this. Over the course of the weekend, there are people that they're, how can I describe? They're like in a Trump club. And, on one hand, they were riding around with banners. And then yesterday, some people had sailboats and, we love President Trump and here's my flag on the sailboat. So now, as much as all that, it seems fun. And I was preoccupied with other things and could not attend or anything like that. But folks, how can I say, what needs to happen is, and I'm not blaming anyone. I mean, I'd like to see people, and they seem to enjoy it, and it's fun, and we're going to stand and wave flags, but it's not that complicated. More Republicans need to get elected in the state. Period. End of story. And what you have to ask yourself is, are any of those efforts getting someone elected? For all the people that are riding around, right, and they're doing a caravan, and they all have Trump flags, those are people that could be going door to door with a Republican candidate trying to get them elected. People that are out on Narragansett Bay and have a Trump flag and a sailboat. Okay, I mean, that's fine. But however long that took, that could have been helping. Like, to me, none of it matters if you don't get Republicans elected to the state house. They need more of them up there. So, and I'll admit, I don't know I think it's a little bit of the chicken or the egg, meaning I don't know if the Republican Party, the Rhode Island GOP, if they reach out to the groups and say, hey, we love your enthusiasm. Um, come help us help these people get elected. Or maybe some of the, well, it's too late now, could have run for office. Or I don't know if it's that, or if the people that are riding around and standing in a corner waving a Trump flag, if the party says, well, they don't come to us and say they want to help, or the people doing it, the Trump club, if they say, well, the party doesn't come to us and say they want us to help. So I don't know, and I'm not trying to blame anybody, but if people were serious about getting Rhode Island to just, if Rhode Island was leaning Republican, if Rhode Island was toss up, we would be better off. But unless more Republicans get elected, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I know there were people that tell me, well, I think President Trump won Rhode Island. I mean, you can say that all the time. You can always keep saying you think he won. But there's a difference. Do you see these states? He's actually winning. They're not just saying they think he won. He's actually winning the states. New Hampshire right now is leaning Democrat. But New Hampshire's in play. If Rhode Island could either lean Democrat, that would be fine. That would be a huge change if Rhode Island just was a state leaning Democrat as opposed to 100% in the category. But you can't, I mean, there are people that will just disregard all this and say, well, I don't believe any of it, because everyone I know is voting for like that type of thing, as if that means anything. And I'm not saying solid Democrat. If Rhode Island could just get out of that category, and I'm not saying it's easy with Connecticut, with Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, it's that part of Vermont, the Northeast. If Rhode Island could just get into lean Democrat, the way New Hampshire is lean Democrat, Colorado lean, New Mexico's lean, Minnesota, Virginia lean Democrat. If Rhode Island could just move to lean, I mean, the ideal situation would be toss up. But I mean, New Hampshire has 4 electoral votes, and there's no shortage of people that campaign there. So to me, that should be the goal. And I don't hear anyone talk about that. I don't see anyone unveil, here is our plan of how we're going to get the state into lean Democrat territory. And I'm going to, maybe it's something to explore at another time, and I could try to do that. But I don't know, maybe you bring in the governor of New Hampshire. Maybe you bring in someone from one of those states, like New Hampshire's New England state. It's not that far, 90 minutes away. If that, why not bring him down and talk to him and say, help us get into your category, as opposed to just solid Democrat that is not helping anyone. Folks, this portion of our program, now I want to remind those, if you're experiencing foot or ankle pain, you want to contact Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. They're right in the Smithfield Medical Center, Route 5. 3 board-certified doctors, latest technology. They take all health insurance. It's Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. All aspects of foot care, skin conditions, bunions, hammer toe, digital x-ray on site to make a quick diagnosis. It's Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. Foot pain should not be ignored. Foot pain should not be ignored. Call them today, 401-949-3220. 401-949-3220. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. Call them, make an appointment, sometimes same-day appointment. If you're suffering from foot pain, ankle pain, any type of problem, Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists, 401-949-3220. And again, they take all health insurance, and they have 3 board-certified podiatrists. who are available to serve you at Greenville Foot and Ankle. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. So I do want to just touch on, I was going to talk with a sergeant in Coventry, because that was a very unusual situation. In Coventry Police, I was trying to coordinate something with them. I thought we were going to get him for 12:30. So what happened? 53-year-old man faced a judge. He kidnapped an 80-year-old woman from her Coventry home. Stephen Henning was arraigned on charges of kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon in a dwelling, first-degree robbery, assault on a person over 60, burglary, larceny of a motor vehicle. Henning said prosecutors said Henning was in Ohio several weeks ago when he learned his girlfriend had taken an insurance settlement from him. He assaulted her, fled in a car he stole from a family member. He abandoned the car in Woonsocket, met up with a Providence woman he met online. She drove him to a bar in Burrillville on August 13th, where prosecutors said he stole an Impala so he could return to Ohio to murder his girlfriend. Prosecutors said Henning knew the Impala would report it stolen, so his next move was to find a person to murder and steal their car. Sunday, he met an 80-year-old woman at Wendy's and learned she lived alone. He followed her home, confirmed she was alone. Whoa, this was yesterday. Went inside, choked her, shoved her in the back of her car. Drove to a wooded area in Smithfield. He strangled her with a belt. When she became unconscious, he covered her body and left. He came back the next day with a shovel, found she was gone. Okay, so they don't say what Sunday. It must have been the past Sunday. Woman woke up, knocked on doors to get help, taken to a hospital being treated for significant injuries. Smithfield police learned about the stolen car, unless this is poorly written, which it's very possible, and said Henning led them on a high-speed chase. He was arrested by Providence police at the home of the woman he met online. He's going to face multiple charges. Burrillville and Smithfield held without bail. I think that all went down yesterday. And folks, again, the car chase happened. Who wrote that story? I think they made a mistake. I think I'll have to go back. I mean, I did get the report from police. Yesterday we were just on the verge of then going to cover it, and they caught him very quickly. Okay. Tried to kill him, leaving it for a month over the weekend. Arrested on Sunday, right? Transported to Smithfield. Let me just see if they have a different version. Channel 10. 80-year-old woman Saturday. Oh, see, they say Channel 10 is saying they spoke Saturday night. Followed her home, robbed her, assaulted her, put her in the back of her own vehicle. Dumped the 80-year-old woman in a wooded area in Smithfield, putting a belt around her neck. She became unconscious. Victim was able to find help. She's at Rhode Island Hospital. After Henning was identified as the suspect, he fled from police in a vehicle, caused a high-speed pursuit, found in a home in Providence on Kinfield Street. Kidnapping, assault, deadly weapon, held without bail. So, but great job is what I wanted to say by Coventry police that they were able to. And folks, it's just so odd. I mean, these stories of this kind of where these two total wackos are finding themselves and coming in and around to Providence. Now, last night we were going to do road patrol. Now, we usually do it a little bit later at night, but there is something that broke right around 5:13 during a routine traffic stop. Those of you that watch road patrol know many times we'll go to a traffic stop because what do we say? Because you never know what can happen with it. So on this one, the driver fled on foot to the back door of a home on Goddard Street. They go to stop him yesterday at 5:13. When the officer got to the door, multiple people attempted to stop and assault him. Ephraim Gonzalez is accused of hitting the Providence police officer in the face during the confrontation, and 23-year-old Nicolette Whitfield of biting the wrist. Perez said the officer had a small cut on his left eye and abrasion on his wrist. All three are in custody. I mean, again, folks, we're definitely doing road patrol tonight. That would have been fantastic for us. So these, those of you that enjoy road patrol, and thank you, and I enjoy doing it, we're going to keep doing it. I think now people get the idea in the sense that it's all just a matter of timing. It's all a matter of being available, being out there when some of this stuff happens. So now those are two incidents yesterday that clearly I wish we had been out and available and could have, caught the whole thing. It just unfortunately did not work out that way. Now, speaking of vehicles, as a matter of fact, I want to remind you about Valari Motors. They specialize in Volvo sales and service, selling pre-owned used cars, the largest selection of Volvos in Rhode Island. All right, couple things. Where are they located? 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. You can call them at 401-942-9568. And by the way, they want your vehicle. They want your vehicle. Get the best value for your trade-in at Valari Motors. They specialize in Volvo sales and service. They stock all types of Volvos and Ford trucks. Great prices, great vehicles, tremendous service. Valari Motors in Cranston, right there in the heart of Cranston on Park Avenue, New England's #1 dealer in pre-owned Volvo sales and service. So go see my friend, Paul Staskavich, or now any good dealership, you got to have a great mechanic. He does have one with Steven, and maybe your next vehicle is right there at Valari Motors. Pop it and see them, 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. So what does all of this mean? Folks, we need law and order. We absolutely need law and order. And, I was speaking to someone over the weekend, and we were talking about the presidential election. And I was telling them that it's so imperative that President Trump win this election, because what we're learning right now is, and I think a lot of people agree with this. Clearly, Governor McKee is who he is. He's in over his head. It's unbelievably unfortunate. We are stuck with him for the next 2.5 years. And there's no plan to turn the state around. It's bad for business. It's bad for lack of an economy. The only path to try to straighten out some of the problems of the state are a Trump presidency, because then at least it would improve the economy. At least then there would be more law and order. You wouldn't have all the fentanyl pouring in. You wouldn't have all the illegals coming in. No one's going to convince me that turning Governor McKee running a sanctuary state is benefiting the state. The state needs more business-friendly policies. And I think a Trump presidency would highlight the states that are doing well. And Rhode Island has such an opportunity to just be different than Massachusetts and Connecticut. But instead, you're talking about someone that Governor McKee, he's almost like a cover band. He doesn't have any original plays. He doesn't have any original music. He's just playing the hits of others. So he's going to, go and try to get Governor Walz to agree to build his bridge for him. Maybe that's the reason that he's going there. He has the right to go. He obviously has the right to go to the convention. There's nothing happening right now. He's going to do whatever he can, as a matter of fact, to try to secure himself to run for re-election. So Leaders of several of the largest labor unions in the country will have speaking slots tonight in Chicago. At least 7 labor union presidents are speaking at the DNC, where they're most comfortable, as a matter of fact. I also want to touch on the situation in Cranston, my hometown, of which I think they're doing the right thing. But anyhow, so Governor McGreed is then heading to Chicago tomorrow morning to attend the DNC returns on Friday. But I want to commend what Cranston is doing, and Cranston needs to stand up to, and they seem that they're trying to stand up to what people are trying to turn Cranston into. Cranston residents don't want to go backwards. They want to move the city of Cranston forward. And one way to move the city forward is to not to start to cave to a lot of these progressive ideas and ideas that are ruining either other cities or other parts of the state. And so that's why, and they are going to get pushback, but this is where the people and the residents of the city need to start to speak out and say what they don't want to turn it into. And I'm talking about, there's a story, several Cranston city councilors have declined to back a controversial proposal from the mayor that would ban homeless encampments on public property, arguing against the ordinance as written would fail to effectively address the problem. Why are they declining? See, this is where those particular people need to have public pressure. It would outlaw any type of permanent or temporary shelter in city property. Do you want homeless encampments in Roger Williams Park? Do you want homeless encampments on Fay Field? Do you want homeless encampments on public property? Violators be subject to a $50 fine, have 24 hours to remove their tents or shelters. Council members considered the matter at a committee meeting where Anthony Moretti said the proposal was born out of resident complaints, unsanitary, unsafe conditions. Good. There's open fires, there's propane tanks, people using drugs, prostitution. So council members opted to forego taking action, voting instead to continue their review of the proposal until November. Gee, I wonder why that would be after the election. Several members said they could not stand behind the proposal in its current form. Council President Jessica Marino suggested the extra time after the election. Robert Ferry, I don't see how this ordinance as written solves anything. Until we can assure the people that are homeless there are enough beds, we're going to do is sweep them one spot to another. You don't want these encampments. If anything, the Supreme Court has ruled against them. It's part of the problem, not part of the solution. People are unhoused because they can't afford a place to live. We can't find our way out of the housing homeless crisis. Well, I mean, part of that is, the Governor McKee is just the work. Do you know Rhode Island is considered one of the worst states when it comes to developing housing? And the policy is so poorly designed and developed that, that's part of the problem. Is Governor McKee is just not designing or allowing enough new homes to be built and developed. So, folks, this portion of the program, if you're thinking of a new kitchen or bath, Dreammaker Bath and Kitchen, they have a beautiful design center right there, Greenwich Avenue, right near Crown Plaza. Call them at 401-433-7272. 401-433-7272. Dreammaker. Their beautiful design center. Now, we did a live stream with them. If you're thinking of redoing your kitchen or bath, consider my friends, Dennis and Christina at Dreammaker. Respect, integrity, customer focus. This is who you want to deal with. Experience upgraded living Transition from dreams to reality. Dream Maker, enhancing lives, improving homes. Give them a call and set up an appointment at their state of the art showroom in Warwick. 401 433 7272. 401 433 7272. Dream Maker, Bath and Kitchen. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Remember, you can always listen online at the website, depetro.com. Don't forget, this could be a busy hurricane season. Get those branches trimmed with JD's Lawn Care and Tree Service. Think of me, JD's Lawn Care and Tree Service. Call them today, 401 441 0154. I share their Facebook page. So are we doing Road Patrol Live later? Absolutely, we are. This week, unfortunately, we have to, I am not going to sit and watch the DNC. I am more interested this week and next week in President Trump, and I am more interested in President Trump starting to turn the corner and finally starting to address the issues. And it's such an important election. VP Harris, I know a lot of the Trump people are complaining, and they're not going to put her out there. And everyone's talking about Greg Gutfeld. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people have remarked Greg Gutfeld on Fox, how he did a good job in illustrating. Folks, when you start to go down the path that the government decides how much businesses can charge, that is not government's role. That is not capitalism. That's not free enterprise. Let's just say right now, if you're listening to the show, and pick a city and town. So let's just say there's someone that's listening and they live in Lincoln, and they bought their home. You bought it, whatever, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You fixed it up, and it turns out now, you bought it for a certain price, and now you're thinking of selling it, and there's such short supply that you're going to be able to basically double, maybe even triple your money. How would you like a system where Governor McKee steps in and says, you cannot sell your house for that price? You have to lower your price. We're going to start to limit how much people are selling their homes for. Now, you would say, hey, I took care of it. I put money into it. It's in demand. The section where you live is in demand. You can't have situations like that. They don't decide that. I think one of the best examples of the free market, and it's right here. It's the cell phone. Look at how far cell phones have come from when they first came out. And one of the best things that Mitt Romney, in his failed bid for president, but I voted for him in 2012, talked about was if the government was still, if they were in charge of cell phones would still they'd be the size of a shoebox. I remember when first moving to New York City, and as a gift, I was given a cell phone at the time. And actually then you could only use it in the car, that I remember. And it even had, you put it in like the cigarette lighter, and that's how it charged and everything. And I really didn't use it. It was really just going to be for like an emergency. But for those of you, remember, I mean, they were big. It was big and boxy, and certainly nothing now like what everybody carries around. But the best example, or I think a strong example of the importance of competition, is cell phones, and they continue to be, it just keeps improving. Those improvements wouldn't be happening without competition. And then with all the different cell phone competition, that's where the prices settle in. So, look at the success of Ocean State Job Lot, where they can continue to be very successful because they find merchandise and they find a certain price point and they find that people respond to the price point at that. So for Harris to say the government's going to get involved in something like that, that's just not how our system works. That's not capitalism. That's not how we operate. That's the last thing you want, is them getting involved. Folks, this portion of our program, if you're thinking of getting a new roof, call Andrew today, or siding at Royal Exteriors, 401 533 9989. Call Andrew at Royal Exteriors. Whether it's for roof or siding, 401 533 9989. Remember, with Royal Exteriors, where the customer is king or queen, call for a free estimate today, 401 533 9989. You deal directly with the owner. You can find them on Facebook and also online, royalexteriorsri.com. They're right in Johnston. It's Royal Exteriors Roofing and Siding, 401 533 9989. And you can read some of their reviews that are just fantastic. It's Royal Exteriors. Well, folks, good afternoon. It's 12:58. You're listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. You can listen online at the website, DePietro.com. Coming up next hour on the radio show, we will do our segment Politics This Week, where you'll hear us speak with Justin Katz, managing editor of anchorrising.com. Tonight and this week, I think it's going to be difficult to watch. It's going to be difficult to watch. The thing that shouldn't be ignored about tonight is this was, with the Democrat Party, this was a bloodless coup. Biden is going to appear tonight, and they're going to give him big resounding applause. But he got pushed out. I think it's interesting. He still doesn't talk to Nancy Pelosi, who was the one that basically pushed him. So make no mistake about it. And I do understand the Trump campaign frustration, because if they knew they were running against Harris, he most likely would have made another pick for VP. Probably Elise Stefanik of New York, who I happen to like, or Nikki Haley, but probably wouldn't have picked J.D. Vance. So, all right, folks, here's what we're going to do. We're going to break for the 1 o'clock news. Yes, we are doing Road Patrol Live later. But next hour, Politics This Week. Justin Katz, managing editor, anchorrising.com. It's John DePietro on this Monday, August 19th. We're back on the other side after the 1 o'clock news.